All right, good morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Trobman. Has anyone signed up for public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. Les Trobman, General Counsel. We don't have any general commenters this morning. We have one individual who would like to address the commission when we arrive at item 13.
Perfect, thank you. And good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
All right, on agenda item 3, we have no cases to reconsider.
Correct, no cases.
Tax liability cases on agenda item 4. There's no cases on docket 8, but I think we have one case on docket 9.
That is correct. There's one case on docket 9. It's case number TD-22-043-1122. Commissioner Demerson,
I agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff recommendation.
and Mr.
I
Chairman.
agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you.
No fair housing cases on agenda item 5.
Correct, no cases.
Under agenda item 6, there's no wage claim cases on docket 8 or 9 that have been pulled for additional discussion.
Correct. None pulled for additional discussion, but you should have received the wage claim short form dissent list for dockets 8 and 9.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on dockets 8 and 9.
I second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting, as reflected in the wage claim short form dissent list for dockets 8 and 9.
And I concur with chairman's motion, except for those cases in which I am dissenting, as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 8 and 9.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
How about we move to agenda item 7 and consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 8. Please proceed when you're ready.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3100123, Commissioner Demerson.
The AG decision is not supportable. The employer's protest to the NMPC should be considered timely due to its reliance on earlier TWC statements regarding chargeback protection for pandemic-related claims. Concerning the chargeback issue, the employer's witness at the hearing does not seem to have been given a chance to offer firsthand testimony from anyone who actually dealt with the claimant at the time of the work separation, which occurred over a year before the pandemic. It is certainly possible that the claimant could have been discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's response to the NMPC timely and hold a rehearing to allow the employer an opportunity to present firsthand evidence concerning the reason for the claimant's work separation.
The decision is correct, since the employer has alleged the TWC representative provided them with misinformation. I do not contest the timeliness of the employer's response. Regarding the chargeback issue, the claimant was discharged for failing to meet the employer's standards. The employer has not provided any evidence to establish the claimant was capable of performing the employer's standards. As such, the employer's account should be subject to charge. Affirm the AT timely response, notice of maximum potential chargeback, and charge the employer's account.
Affirm the AT timely response to the NMPC chargeback, and then memo as recommended by staff.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Short form dissent.
Case number 3127740, Commissioner Demerson.
The AT's decision is not supportable. The employer's late AT should be considered timely because the employer gave specific testimony concerning the misleading and inconsistent information it received from TWC concerning whether or and how to appeal a chargeback determination. The employer's original chargeback notice response should be held timely because the company relied on TWC's earlier statements concerning chargeback protection for pandemic-related claims. Finally, the case should be resubmitted with details on the employer's evidence concerning the reason for the claimant's work separation. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's appeal and an issue NMPC protest timely and resubmit the case on the work separation issue.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer elected to receive electronic correspondence and has not indicated that they had any technological issues with their electronic correspondence inbox. The employer's appeal was late because they failed to open their correspondence. There is no good cause exception to the timeliness rule. Affirm the AT decision. Late employer appeal, late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback, employer's account remains charged.
Reverse AT timely employer appeal, resubmit.
The two votes for Mr. Chairman, your vote and Commissioner Demerson's votes almost match. Commissioner Demerson's vote differs in that he was voting directly that the response is timely. whereas you resubmit without making a direct vote on the response timeliness. So we just need to have agreement on whether to rule directly on the NMPC issue now or to resubmit and rule on it later. So currently, Commissioner Dimerson, you voted timely employer appeal and timely response to the notice and resubmit on separation chargeback only.
Right.
And the chairman's vote is timely employer appeal and resubmit on everything else.
Let me consult real quick. All right, I'm going to agree with the chairman.
All right, the majority vote is timely employer appeal and resubmit on all the other issues.
Mhm.
And we'll be resubmitting the case.
Okay, thank you.
Case number 3214599, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT had decision should be modified. I agree that the claimant had good cause for missing the first hearing. The evidence presented established that the employer discharged the claimant for attendance points and that the claimant's final absences were due to personal illnesses. The claimant provided proper notice of his absences by calling the employer's attendance hotline. Since the final absence was due to illness, it should be appropriate to protect the employer's account. Modify the AT, good cause, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI, void adequate response.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. A person did not dispute the good cause finding. Concerning the job separation, the claimant was aware of the employer's policy, which specified that 5 attendance infractions within a 6-month period would result in termination of employment. Although the claimant alleged that his final absence was due to a medical condition, the claimant failed to apprise the employer about his medical condition or provide the employer with medical documentation to substantiate his claim. Since the claimant was aware of the employer's policy on absences at the workplace, but thereafter failed to abide by the terms of the policy, the claimant's conduct was mismanagement of his position of employment and was misconduct connected with the work. Hence, we should modify the AT decision. The claimant established good cause for missing the AT1 hearing, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate employer response.
Modify the AT, claim established good cause for AT1, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3278557, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision on good cause. The district manager testified that he was unable to participate in the AT hearing because he was performing a commercial visit at a different store in a different city. Thus, we should find that the employer established good cause for its non-appearance and resubmit the case for merits testimony.
The AT2 decision is supportable. The employer was not prevented from participating in the hearing due to circumstances beyond their control. Affirm the AT. Employer failed to establish good cause for missing the hearing. No misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, employer established good cause for AT1, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3319682, Commissioner Trevino.
We should modify the AT. I agree that the claimant filed a valid claim. The claimant was discharged for attendance points. She worked from home and had provided her own internet service. The claimant's final absences were due to an internet service outage from April 8th, 2022 through April 14th, 2022. The claimant reported her internet outage absences to her manager daily and provided proof of the outages from her internet service provider. The claimant's internet service outage was circumstance beyond the claimant's control and did not constitute any misconduct on the claimant's part. Modify the AT, valid claim, no misconduct, chargeback.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. First, I agree that the claimant filed a valid claim. As to the job separation, the claimant was aware of the employer's attendance policy. Nonetheless, the claimant exceeded the amount of allowable attendance points under the employer's policy. In addition, the claimant's fact-finding statements indicates that the claimant had been given previous warnings. As such, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment. We should therefore affirm the AT decision. Valid claim, misconduct, no chargeback.
Affirm the AT, valid claim, misconduct, no chargeback.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Yes, sir. Commissioner Trevino.
Case number 322, I'm sorry. Case number 3322250, Commissioner Emerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be reversed and decided under section 207.044 of the Act. The claimant had requested time off from the employer and her request was denied. The claimant then advised the employer that if her time off request was not granted, she would be calling in sick. The employer then notified the claimant that doing so could result in termination or a transfer to an open shift position. That seemed to indicate being charged to an on-call as needed basis. The claimant was required to provide medical documentation for her medical absences, but failed to do so. As such, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment, amounting to work-connected misconduct. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response. In the alternative, since the claimant's final absences were due to calling in sick, I could also agree to a vote of no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
The AT decision should be affirmed. Although the claimant missed 2 days of work, she provided notice for those days and the claimant was not discharged by the employer. The claimant quit by filing her claim to receive unemployment benefits after she was changed from a regular part-time employee to an as-needed status by the employer. This was a substantial change in the claimant's hiring agreement, which provided the claimant with good cause connected with the work for quitting. Affirm the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3340784, Commissioner Emerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. Although the claimant alleged dissatisfaction with the employer's working conditions, the claimant failed to support her allegations through concrete examples and relied on generalized assertions of discomfort. Concerning the final incident, the claimant alleged that she communicated with the employer about her concerns prior to her resignation. The records show that the employer properly addressed and remedied her concerns, yet the claimant nonetheless quit. Since the claimant quit when continued work was available, the claimant's separation was a voluntary quit without work-connected good cause. Hence, we should reverse the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is supportable. The claimant quit because she was given job duties which she believed could affect her professional license. She complained to both her supervisor and her supervisor's supervisor that the case her supervisor asked her to sign off on contained errors. Yet her concerns were not addressed by the employer. The claimant believed that signing off on the case could jeopardize her professional license and resigned. Since the claimant made a reasonable effort to resolve her complaints with the employer, the claimant had good cause connected with the work for quitting. Affirm the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3352936, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision should be modified. The employer discharged the claimant for exceeding the allowed number of attendance points. The evidence established that most of the claimant's absences, including his final absence, were due to his medical condition. The claimant reported his absences to the employer's attendance hotline. The claimant had been working with the employer's third-party administrator to have his need for intermittent medical leave approved. However, the employer discharged the claimant prior to his leave being approved. Therefore, since the claimant was discharged for absences caused by his medical condition, we should modify the AT, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was discharged for exceeding the allowable attendance points under the employer's policy. Because the claimant did not establish that the final absence was caused by his medical condition and he continued to incur absence infractions after prior warnings, he mismanaged his position of employment. We should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Affirm the AT, misconduct, no chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3365947, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be reversed. The claimant was discharged for remarks she made made about bodily harm to a coworker. While the claimant contends that she was joking, the coworker in question testified that she did not take the claimant's comments as a joke. Indeed, the claimant's comments described the coworker being pushed out of a moving vehicle. In addition, the claimant had also received a prior warning about her conduct in the office. As such, the claimant's comments constituted work-connected misconduct. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is supportable. The claimant made a comment about her supervisor in the workplace. The workplace is one in which employees regularly made joking comments about each other. And the claimant's supervisor joked with the claimant even after this incident. Therefore, the employer failed to establish that the claimant's comments constituted misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Case number 3387139, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was absent due to personal illness. So the decision should be modified to pay and protect the employer's account. Modify the AT, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI. Alternatively, since the decision relies on documents the parties testified to, but which are not in the record, I could agree to rehear the case.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was discharged for an absence without notice in violation of policy. The claimant alleged that he called in to report his absence, but this was credibly disputed by the employer. Because the weight of the credible evidence established that the claimant violated the employer's attendance policy after a final warning, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case. And that was the last UI case, pulled for additional discussion on docket 8. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
I'm going to
Sure.
accept Stafford.
Mr. Chairman, I want to go back
Yes,
to
sir.
case number 1, if I can,
The
on
very
docket
first
8.
case,
Now,
3100123.
that's correct.
Sir,
3100123. I believe the vote for NMPC was voted timely by all three.
yes.
And so I want a short form dissent on the chargeback
Chargeback
issue.
only?
Yeah,
Yes,
on the
sir.
chargeback issue. All right, thank
I
you.
made a note of it, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 8.
I second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in the short form reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
And I confer with chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you. Going on to docket 9.
The first two cases will be grouped together. Case number 3129330, 3129336, 3129636. Commissioner Dimerson.
All right, the AT decision is not supportable. In all of these three companion cases, the employer's late AT should be considered timely because the employer gave specific testimony concerning the misleading and inconsistent information it received from TWC concerning whether and how to appeal a chargeback determination. The employer's original chargeback notice response should be held timely because the company relied on TWC's earlier statements concerning chargeback protection for pandemic-related claims. Finally, the three cases should be resubmitted with details on the employer's evidence concerning the reasons for the claimant's work separations. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's appeal and initial NMPC protest timely in all three companion cases and resubmit the cases on the work separation issue.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer elected to receive electronic correspondence and has not indicated that they had any technological issues with their electronic correspondence inbox. The employer's appeal was late because they failed to open their correspondence. There is no good cause exception for the timeliness rule. Affirm the AT decision, late employer appeal, late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback, employer's account remains charged.
Reverse the AT, timely employer appeal, resubmit.
And we have the same situation as in the previous case. The majority vote is timely employer appeal, but what gets voted directly and what gets voted on the resubmit differs. So Commissioner Dimerson, again, you had voted that the NMPC was timely, and the chairman would resubmit before making that ruling.
I think we're gonna probably be okay with the chairman. So we're basically voting to hold an issue NMPC protest timely, and then on all three cases, and resubmit the cases on the work separation issues.
That's what I have documented as your vote.
Okay.
The chairman's vote is directly on the timeliness of appeal issue only and resubmits on both the NMPC and the separation.
And the separation. All right, we'll go ahead and agree with the chairman on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will resubmit the case.
Mhm.
Case number 2935051, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. First, as we previously voted, the employers established good cause for missing the AT1 hearing concerning the job separation. The available evidence in conjunction with the claimant's sworn testimony suggested the claimant's separation arose as a result of her medically verifiable illness. As such, the claimant should be entitled to benefits and the employer's account should be protected from charge. Hence, we should modify the AT decision. The employer established good cause for missing the AT1 hearing, no misconduct, no chargeback, MBI.
The AT decision should be modified. The commission has already voted to grant the employer's petition to reopen. Regarding the work separation, the employer discharged the claimant for delay in processing the claimant's request for funds. While there is a processing delay, the evidence established that the delay was a result of the claimant's absence due to illness shortly after receiving the request. The claimant left a note for the fund request, so the employer would be aware that the request needed to be processed while she was out. However, the employer failed to review the note while the claimant was absent because the employer was busy with other matters. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of showing that the delay in process the funds was request of the claimant's fault. Modify the AT decision. Employer had good cause for missing the AT1. No misconduct chargeback.
Reverse the AT, employer established good cause for AT1, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Dimerson.
Thank you.
Case number 3129847, Commissioner Dimerson.
As with the three other companion cases on this docket, the AT decision is not supportable. The employer's late AT should be considered timely because the employer gave specific testimony concerning the misleading and inconsistent information it received from TWC concerning whether and how to appeal a chargeback determination. The employer's original chargeback notice response should be held timely because the company relied on TWC's earlier statements concerning chargeback protection for its pandemic-related claims. Finally, the case should be resubmitted with details on the employer's evidence concerning the reasons for the claimant's work separation. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's appeal and an issue in MPC protest timely and resubmit the case on the work separation issue.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer elected to receive electronic correspondence and has not indicated that they had any technological issues with their electronic correspondence inbox. The employer's appeal was late because they failed to open their correspondence. There is no good cause exception to the timeliness rule. Affirm the AT decision, late employer's appeal, late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback, employer's account remains charged.
Reverse the AT, timely employer appeal, resubmit.
Same situation. I'll agree with the chairman.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
And we will resubmit the case.
Case number 3315169, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be reversed. The employer testified that the claimant was discharged for work avoidance in violation of company policy. Upon reviewing the claimant's work performance, the employer concluded that the claimant did indeed engage in work avoidance. The claimant did not provide testimony to the contrary. Moreover, the claimant had been given warnings regarding her performance. In addition, the employer's termination documentation reveals that the claimant was placed on a final warning for leaving her station unattended while on the clock, and that the employer at a later date observed the claimant not completing tasks while on the clock. The termination documentation also stated that the claimant was observed not completing the correct task assigned. In sum, avoiding work is not the same as working to the best of one's ability. As such, the claimant's actions constituted mismanagement of her position of employment, amounting to work-connected misconduct. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The employer discharged the claimant for alleged work avoidance. However, all the testimony and documentation that the employer presented was focused on past events that led to the claimants being issued prior warnings. There is no evidence presented regarding whether any further incidences or issues following the prior warnings, which resulted in the claimant's discharge. Therefore, the employer failed to meet its burden, showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with work. Affirm the AT decision, no misconduct, chargeback.
Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Case number 3320084, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was discharged based on complaints from customers to the employer's management that the claimant sold gift cards to the customers that were found to be worthless. The claimant denied selling the gift cards, and the employer provided only secondhand testimony from an HR manager who was told about the complaints made by customers to the general manager. The employer failed to provide sufficient evidence to overcome the claimant's sworn denial and establish that the claimant engaged in actions that could be considered misconduct connected with the work. Modify the AT decision, valid claim, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. The weight of the credible evidence in this case establishes that the claimant solicited the employer's club members to sell them gift cards, which ended up having balances of zero. This activity was in violation of the employer's known policy of soliciting members and committing any acts of dishonesty. Accordingly, the claimant's actions constituted work-connected misconduct. Should therefore modify the AT decision. The claimant filed a valid claim, misconduct, no chargeback, and sever the adequate employer response.
Reverse the AT, valid claim, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3325012, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The record indicates that the claimant was aware of the employer's expectations on maintaining professionalism at the workplace. The claimant was terminated when he failed to follow the employer's 5-step apprehension policy to stop a suspected shoplifter. While the employer's investigation on the incident was pending, the claimant approached his manager and hurled profanity towards the manager for handling of the incident. Based on the results of the investigation and his unprofessionalism, the claimant was terminated. Since the preponderance of the evidence suggests that the claimant failed to maintain professionalism at the workplace in violation of the employer's rules, the claimant's conduct was mismanagement of his position of employment, which arose to misconduct. As such, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The decision is supportable. The claimant was discharged for alleged violation of the employer's apprehension policy. The employer has not established that the claimant was made aware of the policy. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3358900, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was advised by his counselor that he could not perform this type of work due to medical reasons. The employer had no other work to offer the claimant. Thus, the claimant was separated due to his medical verifiable illness. Reverse the AT, no misconduct. In the alternative, we should hold a rehearing to get his counselor's note into evidence before making a decision.
We should affirm the appeals tribunal decision. The claimant quit, alleging that his decision was based on his medical condition. He further stated that he had addressed the issue with the employer prior to quitting. However, in a fact-finding statement, the claimant admitted he did not address the issue with the employer. Furthermore, the claimant did not provide medical documentation that advised him to quit his job. Thus, because the claimant did not provide the employer a reasonable opportunity to remedy his concern and failed to provide medical documentation advising him to quit his job, the claimant quit without good cause connected with the work. We should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving.
Affirm the AT voluntary leave.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3370759, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant worked for the employer for approximately 2 months and was discharged because the employer was dissatisfied with the claimant's performance. The claimant did not represent his experience when he was hired, and the employer did not establish that the claimants intentionally made errors or that he was negligent in his performance of his duties. The claimant was discharged due to his inability to perform the job to the employer's expectations, and the claimant had never demonstrated any ability to meet those expectations. Inability to meet the employer's performance expectations does not constitute misconduct connected with work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant admitted that he made an error during the final incident, which ended up costing the employer thousands of dollars. Based on the claimant's extensive experience, he should have known that such a costly mistake would result in termination. Thus, because the claimant mismanaged his position of employment, we should affirm the AT decision, misconduct.
Affirm the AT misconduct.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And that was the last case pulled for additional discussion on docket 9. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 9.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 9, except for the case on which I am dissenting as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 9.
And I second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I am dissenting as reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 9.
And I concur with Chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 9.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you very much.
Brings us to the end of agenda items 3 through 7. Let's pause for just a moment and we'll be back.
Mr. Chairman, let me, one quick point.
Please.
I wanted to thank Sherry and the team. We've been doing a bunch of dockets, double and triple and the like. And as we awaited the arrival of Commissioner Trevino, we got him here and just appreciate the work that you guys put in to make a difference with all of this. I want to put that on record. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll pass it on to the team.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're back. This is agenda item 8, childcare match.
I'll repeat myself so that it's on the record. Good morning, Chair Daniel, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, Sandra Williams, Workforce Development Division. This morning, Workforce Development Division and Child Care and Early Learning are bringing forward 38 board contract year 2023 match agreements from 16 boards. Those 16 boards are Borderplex, Brazos Valley, Greater Dallas, Deep East Texas, Golden Crescent, Heart of Texas, Middle Rio Grande, Lower Rio Grande, North Central Texas, Northeast Texas, Panhandle, South Plains, and Southeast Texas, and Texoma, Tarrant County, and West Central Texas, including match agreements previously briefed. As of January 31st, boards have secured 104.44% of the statewide local match target for BCY 23, with 27 boards securing at least 50% of their target and 25 boards securing 100% of their target. Staff recommends accepting childcare pledges, donations, and certifications of expense for BCY 23 in the amount of $9,061,400.
Comments or questions?
None here.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the acceptance of child care pledges for donations, transfers, and certifications of expense for board contract year 2023 in the amount of $9,061,400 as recommended today by staff.
And I second the motion.
It's been moved to second. We're unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is agenda item 9, childcare allocations and target adjustments.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Reagan Miller with Child Care and Early Learning Division. In the audience, Adam Miller is also here. He's available if there are any technical questions about the data. Because this morning, we're presenting a mid-year review of the BCY 23 child care targets for the average number of children served per day. When we initially set these targets back in August of 2022, we used data from July of 21 through June of 22. And we noted that we would conduct a mid-year review to update our model with updated data. We completed this review using data from December 21 through November of 22. And the results showed that the average cost that boards are paying were considerably higher. On average, the daily cost is up by $1.33 per day, and board by board, this ranges from a low of 25 cents to a high of $2.48. Based on our updated analysis, we see that boards are now paying 91.95% of the maximum rate versus 86.2% from the prior base period data that we reviewed. The reasons for these changes vary. Parents could be picking more Texas Rising Star providers. We could have a more expensive case mix. We outline these factors in the chart on page 2. Under the commission rules at section 800.51F, TWC may modify the level of funding to a workforce area in order to respond to caseload changes. And based upon the mid-year review of the data and in accordance with the rules, we are recommending that the commission allocate an additional $19.5 million to the boards in order to allow them to meet their BCY 23 targets. This additional funding provided for half the year will allow boards to meet the 140,000 children served per day target in the last half of the year. We're recommending that the targets be adjusted and funding distributed as outlined in additional detail on page 3 of your documents. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
None here.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the allocation of the local workforce development board child care funds in accordance with 40 Texas Administrative Code section 800.51F and reset the board contract year 2023 targets as described in the discussion paper and presented today by staff.
And I second the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
This is agenda item 10, board performance expectations.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Cerna, Courtney Arbor, Workforce Division. As briefed and reflected in the posted material for today's meeting, today's staff are presenting the BCY 23 performance expectations for 6 of the measures that are contracted to our local workforce development boards. Adam Leonard is also here, as he was for the childcare measures if we need to call him up. The first 3 of the measures that I'll mention are related to non-federal career and training measures and targets, all aligned with the General Appropriations Act. These are measures of participants served by the workforce system who are employed or enrolled in Q2 after they exit our services, and that has a recommended target of 68.1. Participants who are employed or enrolled from Q2 and continue to be employed or enrolled into Q4 with a recommended target of 83.4, and the credential rate with a target of 70.9. The 4th is the choices full engagement rate, which continues at a 50% target in alignment with the federal target. And then the 5th, claimant reemployment within 10 weeks. This uses a methodology consistent with what we've done in previous years also. It takes the case mix into account, such as claim type and the different reemployment patterns based on the area of the state. Each board has a sub-target with those factors in mind, with the state working to ensure that 60% or more of all the claimants return to work within 10 weeks. Last, I'll mention the employer workforce assistant measure. That's one that we've discussed most thoroughly with your staff in recent weeks. We propose to simplify that measure this year by focusing on the services only provided locally to employers, only provided locally, and the number that they're working with is the number of employers in the local area. This simplifies the process by removing the need for an end of year adjustment, which we found to be pretty confusing for the workforce boards this last year. And so we believe that this will gives them a hard target to work toward, and every board has a slight increase in their target this year because of the extensive growth that we've experienced in the state, and the number of employers has increased in every area of the state. So with that, I would ask your consideration of those 6 measures and targets as described.
Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to say thanks, Courtney, but Adam and the team on the briefing that we received, the previous item and this item in particular. I know there's a lot of hard work that's put into it, and so we appreciate the innovation, the facts that are coming out there to make the processes that much better.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yes, none here.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the local workforce development board contract year 2023 performance expectations and underlying target methodologies as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is agenda item 11, career school waiver.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Dimerson, Commissioner Trevino, Mr. Serna. For the record, Carrie Ballas, Workforce Development Division. TAC Chapter 807 for career schools and colleges, Rule 807.4 states that upon demonstration of extreme extenuating circumstances, a school governed by Chapter 807 may request a waiver from one or more requirements detailed in the chapter, and TWC may grant a waiver upon a specific finding of good cause. Career schools and colleges staff received a request from Central Texas Allied Health Institute located in Austin, Texas, regarding opening of an additional classroom that exceeds the 1 mile radius rule established in TAC 807.14 locations. Greater detail about the waiver request is provided in your notebook materials. In seeking the waiver, Central Texas Allied Health Institute has met the conditions and requirements for such waiver. Staff seeks direction on CTAHI's request that TWC waive Rule 807.14B2. And if granted, this waiver only applies to Central Texas Allied Health Institute and only to this one specific request regarding location of an additional classroom. That concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
None here.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the Central Texas Allied Health Institute request for waiver of 40 Texas Administrative Code, Section 807.14B2 requirements to enable the addition of a classroom without applying for an additional certificate of approval pursuant to 40 Texas Administrative Code, Section 807.4.
I second the motion.
The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's agenda item 12, modification to BCY 23 Child Care Award.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, Allison Wilson with Child Care and Early Learning Division. On September 28th, 2021, the Commission approved the criteria for several workforce awards, including a Child Care Award for local workforce development boards. The board contract year 2022 Child Care Award was based upon two components. One was 66.6% based on employment connections, and two, 33.3% based on training connections. The training connections component is based on enrollment of job-seeking parents in WIOA-funded short-term training. To date, however, boards have not expended a significant amount of this WIOA distribution. Given the low number of childcare parents enrolled in short-term training, staff recommends modifying the BCY 23 Child Care Award to eliminate the 33.3% training connection criterion. And that concludes my remarks on this item. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
None here.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the modification of the board contract year 2023 Child Care Award as described in the discussion paper as recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
Motion carries. Thank you. This is agenda item 13. This is Child Care Tranche X, the final tranche of all the money that we have had. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, proceed.
So again, for the record, Allison Wilson with Child Care and Early Learning. Today, for your consideration, we are bringing forward the 10th and final tranche of child care stimulus funded initiatives. We have 10 issues for you today. The first one is technical assistance for employer-supported childcare. $12 million would be dedicated to this. These funds would go to qualified entities that can provide technical assistance to employers interested in exploring the development of on-site or near-site childcare, as well as other strategies to support the childcare needs of their employees. The services funded may include employee needs assessments, feasibility studies, and facilitating partnerships with existing childcare providers. The second issue is modification of the already approved childcare industry expansion initiative. In two previous tranches, the commission dedicated $150 million for this initiative. The interest level remains very high, with over $100 million in awards and more than 500 applicants already approved. Staff recommends dedicating an additional $84 million to support the estimated need. And in addition, we recommend extending the deadline for awardees to expend the funds through August 31st of 2024. The third issue is a pilot project for early childhood education teacher pipeline. To support more robust early educator pathways, this pilot would support more students in their pursuit of post-secondary credentials. Dallas College proposed to develop a competency-based online core curriculum geared towards the early childhood education workforce. The material developed and funded through this initiative will be open sourced and made available to other institutions across Texas. Staff recommends approval of $2.7 million in stimulus funds for Dallas College to pilot this model. The fourth issue is $150,000 for board strategic planning for quality improvement. Beginning with the BCY 23 contracts, the commission increased board's quality set aside for activities to improve the quality of childcare and early learning from 2% to 4% of their allocation. Staff recommends dedicating $150,000 for TWC to host a training and technical assistance event that will focus on providing workforce development boards with assistance and strategically expending those funds. Issue number 5, childcare program data enhancements. Since 2019, TWC has published key data points related to the childcare program on Childcare by the Numbers. This website provides a central point for stakeholders to view information about the children and childcare providers participating in TWC's program. Staff recommends dedicating $1.03 million of stimulus funds to support data extraction and transformation, analytics, and visualization through fiscal year 24 to implement an improved childcare by the numbers website that provides greater data transparency and supports more robust data analysis for our stakeholders. Number 6 is a modification to our matching grant programs. The commission previously approved 25 million for the Matching Investments and Childcare Quality Improvement Initiative, also known as MICI, which was modeled after the existing childcare industry partnerships program. To date, we have not received any MICI applications. Given the similarities between MICI and CCIP, staff recommends retaining CCIP and discontinuing MICI and modifying CCIP to allow the donor match to be derived from any local partner. Issue number 7 is continuation of childcare business coaching. To continue supporting the childcare industry, which continues to struggle post-pandemic, and to provide targeted support for stimulus-funded initiatives, staff recommends dedicating 18 million to extend business coaching services through September 30th of 2024. Issue number 8 is a modification to our pre-K partnership expansion initiative. Staff recommends that the commission eliminate the alternative teacher certification awards that were planned from the pre-K partnership program and increase the amount for classroom startup awards from 20,000 to 25,000. This change will help offset the tax burden for childcare providers that receive those funds. Issue number 9, we're almost done, is low-income childcare. Approximately 55 million of stimulus funds remain, and staff recommends that the commission invest this balance in direct care for low-income families. And finally, issue number 10, staff recognizes that approved stimulus initiatives may not all fully spend and recommends that the commission ensure full utilization of the approximately 5.9 billion awarded to Texas by authorizing staff to expend any unspent funds on allowable and commission-approved childcare projects, services, and activities. And that is all of my remarks. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We're gonna hold off on that. Hang tight. We got a public commenter, so we need to hear that. And then I actually have a couple of questions for you.
Commissioners, we have Melanie Rubin. Ms. Rubin, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself and begin.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Daniel, Commissioners Demerson and Trevino. I am Melanie Rubin, Director of the North Texas Early Education Alliance, which brings together large profit and community-based childcare early educators, along with researchers, local leaders, advocates, and service providers in North Texas to work collaboratively to increase the accessibility of high-quality early education to make sure our Texas parents can go to work. As you know, the childcare industry is a crucial infrastructure that is important to Texas and to Texans on 3 dimensions. 1, to enable parents to work, 2, to employ a workforce, and 3, to provide an environment in which children can build a successful foundation and optimize their potential to later become Texas's next workforce. We continue to hear about the serious challenges the industry is facing due to serious staffing crisis. This limits both access to an already insufficient supply of quality early learning experiences for young children and their parents' ability to get to work. This crisis is compromising Texas's economic growth. The recommendations today are smart and strategic. The initiatives will be instrumental in developing a pipeline of early educators, professionalizing the industry, increasing access, and improving the quality and stability of the system. We are so very grateful that the Child Care and Early Learning Division conscientiously researched obstacles and thoughtfully and creatively developed the recommendations presented today. As you have heard before, without their and your leadership's deliberate initiatives, programs would have closed permanently and parents' ability to work would have been even further restricted. The efforts presented today in tandem with the strong base of existing programs will make a significant impact on the childcare system, which is the force behind Texas's work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rubin. That's what we have.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Chairman, I want to just again appreciate the work that Reagan and Allison and the team have put into this. It's been a lot of work with the tranches here, and also appreciate the comments made by Melanie.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Demerson. Thank you.
So a long time ago, in a place far, far away, which was the sixth floor conference room, we had gotten $1 billion of extra money to aid childcare entities during the pandemic. And we sat down and we said, all right, what are some ideas that we have? And as I recall, because this is like 2 years ago at this point, maybe 3, I suggested that we go watch the movie Brewster's Millions to understand how difficult it is to spend money on a schedule and do the absolute most good with that. That is when we had $1 billion. Before it was all said and done, there were $6 billion. Actually, a little more than that, if I'm not mistaken. And I've got to say, through 10 tranches of funds, and by the way, what a grand flourish to have 10 parts to the 10th tranche. I applaud that wholeheartedly. Through all these tranches of funds, I've got to honestly say that not one single time do I think we resorted to the throwing money at the problem approach in hopes that the money would make the problem go away. Because generally speaking, you just teach the problem to want more money when you do that. We've made strategic investments in a lot of businesses in this state. $3 billion. This is on top of the $1 billion that we spend annually on childcare efforts. $3 billion was placed directly with childcare entities in this state to make either capital investments, supplement their salary, do hiring. They basically had the opportunity to do that. And I've got to say that you guys, certainly Alison, you and Reagan, but I know a lot of your team, you guys did this with, or at least seemingly with good humor, a lot of work being done, a lot of research, and a lot of seriousness. And I've been in and around government for 25 years at this point, and I can say that this, I'm gonna put this #1 on my list of a group of people that approached a problem seriously, took the solution seriously, and put this agency in a really good position for us to help solve a temporary problem that honestly has helped put us on the track to dealing with some of the more long-term issues that we're going to face. I thought, certainly I appreciate Ms. Rubin's comments as to the agency and our childcare division and some others. There are some very significant groups working on this, including hers. And the support that we've had throughout this has been really good. I don't want my enthusiasm for having completed this task to overshadow the task that has been completed. This has been a phenomenal effort. I don't think we've always been happy with each other during the process, but I think we can 100% be happy with the result. So thank you for what you guys have done. Thank you for what your team has done. Please pass the word, because this is an incredible amount of work. And I think one that we'll look back on and be able to do that. With that, if there's no other comments, we should probably entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Child Care Development Block Grant COVID-19 federal funding ex tranche, the 10th tranche of the new initiatives, dedicating the remaining $173,034,579 in funding and associated programmatic parameters as described in the discussion paper and presented today by staff.
And I second the motion.
It's been moved second and we're unanimous on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is agenda item 14, board nominations.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, Cherie Dudley with Workforce Development. Today, for your consideration, we have workforce nominations for Alamo, Borderplex, Capital Area, Deep East Texas, Lower Rio Grande Valley, and Permian Basin. Staff recommends approval on the presented nominees, and I'm here to answer questions you may have.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the local workforce development board member nominees presented today for the following: Workforce Solutions, Alamo, Borderplex, Capital Area, Deep East Texas, Lower Rio Grande Valley, and the Permian Basin.
I second the motion.
Been moved second and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. So agenda item 15, let's take up the 15A, a short-term training pilot program.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Demerson, Commissioner Trevino, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, I'm Ben Holquist with Workforce Development Division. Before you today for your consideration is a discussion paper on the short-term training and demand occupations pilot partnership. This partnership with Texas State Technical College would fund bringing existing training programs to new areas to meet target occupation demand. These trainings would result in an industry recognized credential, support target occupations in the region or statewide, and be completed within 16 weeks or less. Participants would be WIOA eligible, and TSTC would be able to provide additional supportive services and conduct outreach directly or to subgrant funds to local workforce development boards to provide recruitment support and supportive services, or a combination of both. Staff recommend a one-year pilot of up to $3 million with a one-year renewal option if the project is successful. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
Chairman, I continue to appreciate the work that TSTC is doing and look forward to this initiative.
Yes, no questions.
Yeah, I'd add my support to that, Commissioner Demerson. TSTC continues to innovate, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to work with them. Is there a motion here?
I move that we approve funding for a one-year pilot training program with Texas State Technical College with the possibility of a one-year renewal and dedicating up to $3 million in WIOA funds to support the target of training 500 individuals as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. The motion carries. Thank you. It's agenda item 15B, short-term training pilot. It's a different one.
For the record, again, this is Ben Holquist, Workforce Development Division. Before you today for your consideration is a discussion paper on the Middle Skills Employment Supplies Project, pilot principal project. This project would pay for specific items and required support services for participants who have completed a training in a field that requires specific supplies for additional steps before they can start their employment. While this program would be open to all WIOA eligible Texans, TWC would encourage focusing on priority populations and those Texans who will be leaving incarceration within 60 days. Existing board WIOA customers would be eligible to receive these funds if they have a letter of intent to hire and have exhausted their available client service funding. This project would have $2 million distributed to the 28 boards proportionally with a $30,000 floor. Boards would be asked to develop a form to ensure eligibility is documented. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
Chairman, I again, just to applaud the efforts here. I think this is an opportunity for employers, and we're going to make sure that I get the word out to employers that they're in a position to take advantage of these training opportunities, be it through nonprofit organization or wherever the training comes from. Those employees will benefit employers in a big way.
Yes, no questions.
Let me make sure I understand this. So we're setting aside a pool of funds that would be distributed to boards. I guess we just chose that as an administrative action, but it's going to be distributed to boards. And then ultimately this will be for people who are trying to get into some kind of work or training that requires equipment as a way to assist them to buy the equipment.
Yes.
Yes. And you said something about people who are leaving incarceration in 60 days.
Yes. So this program would also specifically allow for people who are incarcerated, have completed a training that would be for one of these occupations and will be released within 60 days to also receive this support.
So, and others as well, but I mean, so broadly, is it for folks that have completed their training and this is a barrier for them to get work, or would it also apply to equipment needed for training?
This would apply to individuals who have completed training, and this is a barrier to their employment.
Yeah. So this is good because like I've been hearing some stories up in North Texas about some folks that are able to complete automotive technician training, but you have to have a certain amount of tools to complete that training. So now they're in a pickle. They've got the training. They need to get these tools, but don't have a way to buy them. So we're saying that we, through our boards, could assist with these funds, assuming they meet WIOA qualifications. All right, very good. Is there any other comments or questions?
I think individuals and employers will benefit vastly from this.
Yeah, I think you're right, Commissioner Demerson.
I agree.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the distribution of up to $2 million in WIOA statewide funds with a $30,000 base amount to the boards to fund the Middle Skills Employment Support Pilot Project as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded and we're unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So nothing under legislative proposals today, but I see, Mr. Cerner, that Michael Britt has his tie on and it is tied, which must mean we have a legislative report.
Yes, sir, that's
All
accurate.
right. It's the highlight of my Tuesday.
It's not an orange tie.
It's not today.
Not
It's
today.
it's a lot better looking tie than the orange tie, I think.
No comment.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Demerson, Commissioner Trevino, Mr. Cerna. For the record, Michael Brick, Governmental Relations. GR is monitoring 2 federal hearings this week. This morning at 9 a.m., the U.S. House and U.S. Senate Veterans Affairs Committees began holding a joint hearing to receive a legislative presentation from disabled American veterans. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., the U.S. House and Senate Veterans Affairs Committees will hold another joint hearing to receive a legislative presentation from the American Legion and other veteran services organizations. Regarding the Texas legislature, this morning at 8 a.m., the House Committee on Appropriations Subcommittee on Articles 6, 7, and 8 began holding a formal meeting to discuss budget recommendations for Articles 7 and 8 of the House proposed budget. The subcommittee will also hold a second formal meeting on Articles 7 and 8 budget recommendations tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. Also tomorrow, the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Economic Development has requested that TWC testify at their organizational hearing at 9 a.m. to provide an overview of the agency, an update on issues TWC anticipates this session, and an overview of the tri-agency work-based learning strategic framework that was required by House Bill 1247 enacted by the 87th Texas Legislature. Chairman Daniel will be testifying on behalf of the agency at that hearing. This concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions and
Any
take tie
questions?
recommendations for next week.
I'm not sure I'm the guy to ask on that, but are there any comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
No, thanks for everything. I know it's a busy time. We appreciate it. Is there any other order of business come before the commission today? Mr. Cerna?
I do have one thing, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize it being a last minute thing, but I do want to recognize Ben for his efforts to date. He'll be leaving the agency, moving out of state. We're going to retain him for a little bit to work remote, but then eventually he'll have to end his employment with us because he'll be relocating to, I think it's a state on the West Coast somewhere. But anyway, he's done a great job for us in workforce, and I did want to at least recognize that. So thank you, Ben.
Hi. Well, congratulations, but this is information I needed before I had my last chance to question him in front of the commission.
Chairman, I think we call him back up now.
I think there are so many unanswered questions about West Coast states that we need to probably, you said he will stay with us for a few more weeks.
He'll be working remotely for us.
But I mean, I can ask questions on Zoom too, I'm pretty sure.
Zoom and Teams are still available.
Ah, perfect, perfect. Congratulations. Any other order of business come before the commission?
2 things here. Last week or a week before, I had an opportunity to host an internability conference. It's providing opportunities for students with disabilities and well received, and appreciate Commissioner Trevino for participating in that initiative. I did it online, and a number of folks with disabilities, students with disabilities were on that call. It was, I think, Cheryl and Linda and the team for the work there. And then secondly, yesterday, had an opportunity to participate in a human trafficking program put on by the Texas Advocacy Project, and our very own Courtney Arbor, who's a member of a task force, governance task force on these issues, spoke as well. And so I appreciate the work that the Workforce Commission is doing in that space. A number of industry associations, employers, really taking a bold step to do our best to eradicate and eliminate this thing called human trafficking. And so I wanted to share that with you. Courtney's remarks and comments were well received in the work that's been done in that area by Workforce, as supported by the Governor, Secretary of State's office, and a lot of employers is truly appreciated.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I wanted to thank Mr. McCarty, Mr. Britt, my entire staff, all the directors here at TWC that got me prepared for my nominations hearing yesterday. I really appreciate it. from my heart. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a lot of preparation. I watched the hearing on the internet. It went very well. It was very clear that you had a lot of good help with that. And I know there's a little bit more to that process, but I think the big part of it's been accomplished, and we can wait and see what the Senate's going to do. Good stuff.
Right.
Anything else today? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second the motion to adjourn.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn, and we are unanimously adjourned.